When a group of loggers go missing, the logging company suspects eco-terrorists who have often caused major issues. But does that make them murderers? Mulder and Scully head out to investigate, but what they find is nothing anyone could have expected.
This is not happening.
Hello and welcome to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast.
This is Doug Spinney and Stephen Teague. They call themselves monkey wrenchers, the guys who drive spikes into trees, sabotage logging equipment, and otherwise make life miserable for lumberjacks and lumber mills.
Eco-terrorists or militant environmentalists.
Right. 2 weeks ago, the group of loggers I just showed you radioed a message that Spinney and Teague had gone on a spree, spiking trees, sabotaging equipment, and causing general mischief. 1 week later, all radio communication was cut off.
Do they know why?
No. The lumber company that employs the men has asked the Federal Forest Service to look into the matter. 2 officials were sent in a week ago, and no one has heard from them since.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mike, and with me today is Andrew. How are you doing, Andrew?
I am well. The darkness has yet... Oh, wait, the darkness did fall. It is dark. Behind the curtain...
Work on those puns.
Behind the curtain, folks, we record these at night. So when we say good evening, we mean it. But maybe you're listening in the morning.
Yes. Darkness has fallen.
Darkness has fallen.
Until about May or June.
I know. I love that idea that in 6 months, it's still going to be bright out right now.
Just got to make it there first.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, this is one of those episodes. Darkness Falls is one of those episodes that's very, very well done. And I enjoy this one a lot. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. And what are your opening thoughts, Andrew?
So,
how do you feel about this?
I really do like this episode. It sits in a small group of what I'm going to call haunted house episodes. The ones in mind are Ice, Dodcom, Fire. I'm sure there are others which kind of fit this bill in later seasons, but those are the standout examples to me. They're basically trapped in an area where they can't get out and they have to deal with each other. It's not as much an issue here as it is in, say, Ice, where they really, it becomes this huge psychological thing, but it's still very, very good. It's got 2 things I don't like about it, which we'll touch on when we get there. But by and large, it's just excellent. And yeah, it really does make a great example of the haunted house genre. Quite.
And I think it's interesting because when we consider the haunted house aspect of it, where our cast is stuck in a location, it's often a tight quarters. They can't escape, but they can't escape the world. So it's like a different it's a twist on it, and I like it. They're outside, it's just wilderness, yet they're confined somehow. So they did a really good job at making the world seem daunting and inescapable.
Well, and apparently the production on this episode was just horrific. Like they did 6 days on location, northern BC. They actually shot in 2 separate forests. And just like hail and winter blizzards and impossible places to get to. And it was torrential rains. They had a real hard time. Apparently the cast and crew were just exhausted and nobody wanted to do this kind of show again.
I can imagine it. I mean, they do look extremely wet in a lot of scenes in here, and it's got to be a peek in the curtain there where everyone is soaking wet and just cold and annoyed with all the shooting.
Well, I'm sure everything just took longer because one of the issues was that it's like a single lane road to get to one of the shooting sites. So they had to have everybody stage 200 yards off site and then shuttle people up that were necessary. So, when you gotta funnel people back and forth, everything just takes longer, meaning you're out there longer, you're cold longer, you're hungry longer. Waiting, and I guess on set you're always waiting, but it's just harder. So the line that Mulder has at one point saying, "Come on, Scully, it'll be a nice trip to the forest," is probably what the writer was thinking when he penned this episode, not imagining the 6 days of hell this shoot was going to be.
Yep. Well, let's dive right in, shall we?
Let the darkness fall.
Before we begin, directed by Joel Napolitano, also known for Jersey Devil. And I believe these are the only 2 credits. Yeah. But yeah, he had one great episode on under his belt here. So So we open on Olympic National Forest in Washington. There is a group of men arguing amongst each other. Perkins and Dyer are the heads of this argument, and they're debating whether or not they should hike out or stay put because something has the whole crew here freaked out. They don't know what they're supposed to do, and the problem is they're trying to get somewhere to safety before nighttime. We don't know exactly what the issue is, but they're debating whether or not to stay or leave. It's a pretty tense scene, and eventually they all make a run for it. They all split up, and it's every man for themselves. Kind of already, as we were talking about, very, very wet and cold looking.
You imagine that you just want to be around a campfire with a mug of hot chocolate. It's looking that weather.
Yeah, I can't imagine being in a situation like this where you're in a group of coworkers, I guess, loggers, and they all just start running in somewhat similar direction, but they're all going their own direction. It's got to be like, I would stay with someone, that would suck. But as they run, the sun sets, of course, and it is now nighttime, and something comes from the sky. We see glowing lights, really, really tiny lights in swarms, and head down to the people. And we get credits.
So are they tiny, tiny, tiny UFOs?
They're very tiny UFOs. They're all here. They all came.
The whole alien civilization came. That must be what it is.
Yep. That's the best way to travel. Small groups.
Yeah. I did like that moment of reconnection between their two antagonists that are having the argument at first, saying, we should stay, we should run, and then they end up together. They're buddy, they're using the buddy system.
Yeah, they are trying to help each other, but at the same time, there's nothing they can do, and they get swarmed.
They're going to meet their maker together.
Yeah. What do you think of that opening? I know we like to talk about openings, kind of get our perceptions.
I do. It's good. It's spooky. Ultimately, it sets the tone right away. Like there's a threat. We don't know what the threat is. They are short on details because one thing X-Files is really good at is not overusing exposition. They don't have to drop it all to us within 5 minutes to bring us up to speed. That's where the mystery lies, is the unstated premise. So I like that all we know is that there's a problem, they got to run, and that this is big country and that running is going to be difficult. We'll learn later that it's a 4-hour drive to get to the camp from where you start out from.
They got a long way to go.
So that's a long way, especially through that tough country. Like they got dude breaking his leg by tripping over a log. So yeah, it's perilous, and you can imagine yourself there thinking that this is going to be tricky. Like, what is out there that is going to make you run like this? That's the other question.
Yeah.
So I dig it. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I think they did a very good job. It gets you intrigued right away, and I don't think every X-Files episode is successful at that. Most of the time you're hooked, but this one does a really good job of it. Not
every opening has a murder in it or a death. Arguably, some of those are the more interesting ones. In this case, though, it's pretty traditional. There's going to be some dying.
Yeah. So we come back from the credits. Mulder is showing Scully slides of this logging team who have mysteriously gone missing. He's kind of toying with her a little bit. She doesn't know what she's looking for, and he jokes that maybe she's looking for a boyfriend. But he says that the Federal Forest Service has actually given up looking for these people. And this is where they come in. Every single one of them has disappeared. They don't know what's going on. They suspect monkey wrenchers who have been sabotaging the loggers off and on for a long time. But that's all they've got to go on right now. They don't know if they've moved on to worse crimes than just sabotaging equipment. But they're causing a lot of problems, and this is the only lead they really have. All radio communication has been cut off. So they're going to go up there, and it's going to be a nice trip to the forest, Scully.
Yeah. Which everybody in the production is thinking, this will be easy. We'll go camping. There'll be s'mores. It'll be wonderful. And then the clouds set in. I like it. The thing I had to wonder, though, when I saw this is like, okay, we got 2 monkey wrenchers up there, 2 eco-terrorists. They become serial killers. They're going to take out 24 guys. The odds seem low on that. It's
a little ridiculous to imagine that, two maybe a small group of these guys could do it, but to assume that they just went from sabotaging equipment to straight up murdering an entire crew is a little...
Well, of course, that's not the hook for the X-Files. The hook is that there was the previous lumber party in 1934 that went equally missing.
Yes.
And so Mulder goes to great lengths to score the case, to say we're going to get tapped for this, to sort of see what's going up here. And of course, I like Scully's quip of, what do you think it did it? Bigfoot?
It's a little too much flannel to be choking down.
Yeah. And everybody knows that Bigfoot's a vegetarian, so I can't possibly be.
So Mulder and Scully arrive on scene, and they meet an officer. It is someone from the Forestry Service, and he's Larry Moore. This is actually a good character. I like this character. He's part of the team. He wants to get down. Yeah, he's likable, but he's on the opposing side during the episode. So it's kind of an interesting little dynamic they have going on here, but we'll get to that later. Yep. This is actually Jason Beggy. This is a friend of David Duchovny.
Oh, nepotism.
So he explains to them that, look, in principle, he's on the side of the eco-terrorists. He wants to protect these forests as much as he can, but he cannot condone their methods of going about, sabotaging everything and being dangerous. But the fact is there's 30 men unaccounted for. Something happened to them, so they got to check it out.
Yep. They didn't lean in hard to the the eco-warrior business. They present both sides, and in the end, it doesn't matter. They introduced the third side, which is the alien, big bad that doesn't care for your petty political dispute.
Yeah, I agree. I think they did a pretty good job of making it kind of two-sided, but at the same time, the goal is to find these people and not, aside from the next character we meet, not throw blame everywhere. But Steve Humphreys is on the scene here, and he is a man's man. He is down to business.
You'd argue that our Freddy is a man's man too, though. I mean, he's got the hat and the leather jacket.
Oh yeah, so
square chiseled.
But for him, it's a little more just look. Steve Humphreys is very no bullshit, and he's got of one mind here. He wants to take down these eco-terrorists who he is convinced have done this.
Well, the fact that he comes in with a shotgun in hand sort of says what he's expecting is going to happen up there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Up there, but he's ready for a fight, though.
Yep.
But they state that there's a 4-hour drive to the camp, so they got a lot of time to get to know each other on the way. So let's get going.
And they're off to the races.
They start driving. Some time passes, and sure enough, on their way, they run over a caltrop. They blow some tires. And Steve Humphreys here gets he has no love for these people. Avoiding any conflict right now, Larry packs his bag and heads off by himself. He's like, let's just get up to camp because it's almost nighttime. Mm-hmm. So they hike the rest of the way. We fade into the campsite. It looks very abandoned.
What I like in this moment is we're setting up the paranoia, right? Like we, the audience, know that something bad happens at night because we've been told this in the opening, but the characters have no idea. They're just lucky to get to the camp before nightfall.
Yeah. And the fact that, that it's a 4-hour drive and they had to walk the last leg is pretty dangerous. But
but again, they have no idea.
No idea. When they arrive, the place is empty. It looks like people left in a hurry. Someone forgot to clean their plate, Mulder quips. But everything's still there. The dinner is left out. And Mulder notices an oily substance on the refrigerator. He makes small note of it. The camera checks out his fingers. So it's something we should probably pay attention to.
Well, yeah, and he's going to notice it like several times during the episode. So you will know that this is happening.
So kind of on your point earlier where they don't beat you over the head with some things right at the start. they are known to do it in certain episodes.
Yeah.
Not so much this one.
If there's any exposition, it's about we're getting Steve Humphreys' side of it. We're learning about the logging company and how they work, and they're beset with these monkey wrenchers. So if anything, that's the background we're getting at this point. And of course, when they arrive at the camp, we're setting the scene by seeing it. We, you know,
Yeah,
there
I
are a
was
few
just going to
observations.
say there's evidence of the rice in the gas tank, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They really did a number here, and the sun's going down in half an hour, so they're going to take a look around before it gets dark.
Yep.
Steve Humphreys is going to stay behind and try and get the generator working. Scully feels like she's walked into a war. We cut to the trio, Mulder, Scully, and Larry, checking out the area. They're walking through a densely cut down wooded area.
If anything, like this image right here is the other side of the equation, right? Like we've had Steve Humphreys telling us they cut responsibly. They have to go way away from civilization to do the logging work that they can do. But just the visual that this is what it looks like, you know, the clear-cut site, that's all you really need for the other side to be like, this is not how forest should be. But yet this is commercial logging for you.
It doesn't take long. As they're walking, Mulder notices something up in the trees. We get a shot of it from the camera. It is a large white nest, it looks like, and they go to investigate. They construct a crude pulley system, and they lift Scully up. As she investigates, she notices decomposing fingers poking out of part of the nest. And we cut to commercial. Icky, spooky fingers. That was quite the reveal, right?
Well, it definitely tells you.
I mean, we knew, but
this is not going to be a nice walk in the park, you know. And yes, we knew something happened, though. We didn't know it about this nest. But yeah, as soon as you saw the human-sized nest there, you knew that was going to be bad.
There's not going to be candy in here.
It's not a pinata.
Just a big pinata. We come back from commercial, and they're cutting open this nest. And it's such a crunchy sound when they tear it open. I love the way how thick that is.
Well, even just the design of it is pretty cool. Like, I mean, that's probably fiberglass, I'm going to guess, or I don't know what they'd use to create it, but it's really compelling. I like it a lot. I wanted to say that I actually have that knife, not that particular knife, but I have the exact same style of knife in my possession that Scully is using or somebody is using to cut open the cocoon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you much of a cocoon hunter? Or
yeah, I like to go out the weekends looking for giant human cocoons. And
just knife.
When you go out, you need to be prepared, Mike. I
imagine these cocoons. I imagine they're native to your neck of the woods there.
Yeah, Ontario,
they're
BC.
all over.
You don't want to go into the woods after dark. You run the risk of being scooped up by green bugs and put into cocoons. This is actually a nonfiction episode.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. It's little known facts.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they don't put it on the tourist brochures.
Well, it sheds new light on this episode.
It does. And honestly, that's why every Canadian gets one of these knives, so that you can rescue your buddy from a cocoon.
Crazy.
Civic duty. We're big on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, as they cut into this cocoon, when they tear it open, I really like that sound. I don't know, it's really off point, but I like it. And inside,
there are a lot of not gloved hands opening this thing.
That's disgusting.
and
Scully gets real close.
Yeah, it's a skeleton in there, like basically a preserved body, and it's like no masks, no.
Yeah.
Even if it's a crime scene, wouldn't you be wearing your nitrile gloves or something?
To be fair, they don't ever. Honestly, they talk about decontamination procedures and protocols, but
we followed all the correct procedures. It's like, show me the manual. What is?
Yeah, ice comes to mind where they're in a very tight quarters. not a mask to be found.
We followed all the procedures. Oh, I'd love to talk about the procedures.
Sure you
but
did,
no,
Walter.
No, yeah. Yes, well, and clearly it's not a crime scene, I don't think any human is going to entomb somebody in a web.
They could. If you ask Steve Humphreys, they could.
Yeah, some standard monkey wrencher procedure right there.
Oh, yeah. But they are shocked, needless to say, of what they found. A completely desiccated body. Larry makes a note that it looks like they've been embalmed, and Mulder jokes about the size of his manhood. They are very confused as to what could have gotten a man off the ground and that high up into the trees, and they start talking about insects. But what could do that to someone? So right away, the spook factor is up there, Andrew.
Yeah.
We cut back to the cabin, and Steve Humphreys is fixing the generator.
I have a question about that scene before we leave it.
Go ahead.
What happened to that dude's clothes?
I mean, they are ruthless killers, these bugs, but they also have a fashion sense. So they take the clothes and sell them on eBay.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
But good point. I never even noticed that.
I was going to go with they eat the clothes first and then they get to the juicy inside. But
you know what? They could. I think it might just be an oversight. You're right.
Well, and I also thought, with clothes, because my initial thought was identifying this guy, right? Like that was kind of a thing of the episode was locating them. You got to imagine he's got a wallet or something, right? But no, that dude.
Yeah.
All he had was a rib cage.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never even thought about that.
I'm sorry. There will be some other points. It is by and large a really good episode, but there are like 3 nitpicky moments I have about it.
I might have one that I think I know what you're talking about. We'll see. We cut back to the cabin, and Steve Humphreys is indeed fixing the generator. He hears something, and he grabs his gun to look around. He hears clanking from inside the cabin. He goes to investigate, and he sees someone there. Who does he see, Andrew?
He sees Bosch, a very young Detective Bosch, before he took up his post in L.A. No, this is, of course, Titus Welliver in one of his earlier roles as a guest spot on The X-Files. The young Spinney, eco-terrorist Spinney.
This is the guy Steve Humphreys... This is actually the only guy Steve Humphreys wants, because he's the man he's convinced has caused all the trouble for his logging friends, including this fiasco with all the missing loggers. This is who Steve Humphreys will pin absolutely everything on. So he couldn't be happier.
To his point, it's not like Spinney is... he's not apologetic.
He's not innocent. No.
He's not innocent. He is not really doing anything to enamor himself of Humphreys, probably because he knows it's not going to do anything.
He's goading him on. He's playing a little bit of a role, I think. They're obviously antagonistic. They don't like each other for various reasons. But I think part of me thinks, like I said, he's egging Humphreys on just to be a dick. And because he knows he's so passionate about getting even rather than, the law.
Well, but I would also,
as we come to find out.
There's a couple things going on here. One is that Spinney has knowledge. Like he knows what the threat is. He knows that there are creatures out there which can kill you. And it's incredible to even imagine that. He's also starving. Like he hasn't eaten for 3 days. So he's probably
he's munching on the food.
Yeah, he's not all there, right? But he's curiously composed, even though that's not the case. Like he says, I haven't eaten for 3 days, and or later on he'll say that. But so there's a bunch of things going on at the same time, which allow me to excuse kind of some, I'm not going to say sloppy writing, but it's like he does not drop the bomb now. He is very circumspect about what's going on. He just says darkness is our enemy. They come at night, things like that.
Yeah, he's very mysterious.
The episode's really taking its time to dole out the story for us.
Yeah. And Humphreys is accusing him right off the bat of doing something to his men.
I don't know what happened to them. Probably the same thing will happen to us when the sun goes down.
What are you doing?
This animal's Doug Spinney. He's the man responsible for all the monkey wrenching. He's probably a murderer as well.
I'm no murderer.
You're a liar.
Let's just hear what he has to say.
When we stand around here talking, there'll be nothing left to say. I'd start thinking about how to get that generator started. Darkness is our enemy.
What's he talking about?
Someone want to give me a hand?
Spinney kind of takes charge here. He's letting them know that we need light. We need to fix the generators and gas them up because, something's going to happen, but he's being pretty mysterious about it. Mulder asks why he says darkness is our enemy, and he says that's when they come. I don't know what it is, but they come from the sky. And when he says they lift a man right off his feet, that piques their interest because obviously they found the cocoon.
So what's the backstory for Spinney getting here, because that was one element that I come back to when I'm watching this, is to think about what happened in their camp that led it to.
Right.
So obviously Teague was outside the light when this happened and got carried away, and Spinney and his two buddies saw it and huddled close to the light to protect themselves, and decided, I guess, to send Spinney to get the stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my guess is that he saw something close by to a camp where he was in the light, and he managed to survive the night, and he hiked over here because he knew the camp was here, and he wanted to get supplies because they know how far it is to safety or relative safety, and they needed to raid this place to help themselves, I guess.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
He will say later that they need a battery for their Jeep.
Yeah. They have no way to get down to civilization because, as we have said earlier, it's 4 hours drive time. So they need to power that Jeep to be able to even attempt to leave.
Well, the episode is doing a very good job of giving us the rules of the game. And the first rule is you can't run away because they'll get you.
Yep.
We see that in the opening. So you need a vehicle to make the journey, and all the vehicles that they have are busted. So they've got to find a way to fix them. I mean, the best part is our protagonists don't even know this yet, right? We're early on, but we know enough to know that you just cannot run away.
Yeah,
so that
there's no easy way out of this.
That's perhaps my favorite part of the episode, is that it takes a while before they realize they're in danger. You know, what the danger actually is. Like, even at this point, we, the audience, know that there's a bad guy out there, but our characters don't know. You know, we didn't
know, like you're saying, the rules until now, and it's slowly building on itself. And I think they do that so well in this episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely drawing the same playbook as other good episodes like Ice, where they're drawing it out very slowly.
Steve Humphreys is not impressed by this magical story that Spinney has laid out, but we can see on everyone else's faces that there's something to it. And they tell him that they found something in the woods. We cut to later at night. They've given Spinney something to eat. They're camped two valleys over. Yeah, they are talking about what they can do here. And it's here where Larry is talking about this man is a convicted felon. So Steve Humphreys is not completely off base with his antagonistic attitude. But they kind of go back and forth. Spinney's complaining about what they're doing in this forest, and apparently they're cutting old growth trees, and they're not supposed to be. So he thinks his actions are justified, and Humphreys denies that he's acting outside the law.
I like that it's not black and white. It's just gray, different shades of gray. Nobody is innocent in this particular fight.
And Humphreys is predictably very put off by this suggestion, and that his crew would even attempt to listen to what Spinney's saying right now. Spinney tells him, he's actually putting on his coat to go outside, and Spinney tells him, I wouldn't do that. And they have a back and forth about, is something going to come at me and spin me up in his web? And Spinney just says, yeah, something is going to kill you. He goes out, and in a test of manhood, he goads the insects on that he doesn't know are there. He says, I thought it was going to come get me. And of course, nothing does just at this moment. So he's set in his ways.
Yeah.
Spinney's full of crap.
I mean, I guess that is the one element that I would maybe shake my fist at with the episode, is like, it does set up the tension nicely, but it's like, if your conceit is they come out at night, then why didn't they come out now? Is it just too early? Are they running in packs in different parts of the forest? Do they come and go? Are they like zombie hordes that they're not always around? You know?
Part of me thinks it's the first one. It's too early. They're kind of coming out. And as the scene ends, we get that glance from behind the tree with all the bugs on the dark side. They're there. They just haven't mobilized yet. Yeah. So, I mean, I do understand what you're saying for sure.
But certainly Humphreys doesn't stay for long. Maybe there's a part of him which is like, I'm going to make my point, but I'm going to make it very quickly.
I'm going to turn around and go back in.
Yeah. But I do want to give a special shout out to the bug zapper. That's my favorite part of this scene.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Mulder suggests we should sleep on the inside and keep the lights on.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't want to risk anything. We get the bug zapper, and we cut to morning. Obviously, they survived. No problems there.
And I'm wondering if there are no mosquitoes. I mean, I don't know what time of year it is, but if it's northern BC, like there should be like giant deer flies and mosquitoes the size of your hand. But it's possible that all the other bugs have pushed them out. I don't know. I think it's a worthwhile point for the episode to have missed. They could have even said,
okay,
yeah, usually there's a lot of big mosquito problem here, but nothing. Wow, how unseasonal. You know?
Oh, they missed that bit of factual science.
That's right.
Oh, that's funny. So they're all out for the walk today. They're investigating, and Spinney takes them to a huge tree. Unfortunately, it's fake, and we can tell that because Humphreys puts his hand on it, and the bark compresses a little bit, so it's obviously a fake tree. But yeah, this is one of the old growth trees. They notice something strange about one of the rings in the stump.
It looks like it's glue that's been put on by a production assistant of some kind.
I was going to say, it looks vaguely like someone's tampered with this, but for a TV show.
I imagine they got their science straight on this. Certainly the talk about rings on a tree and representing seasons of growth is spot on and cool. But yeah, this is the beginning of Mulder forming his thesis. Beginnings of his superpower. He's gathering data before he's going to pronounce what the big bad is.
Yeah, they decide to take a core sample, and Humphreys is very upset. He's like, we're never going to get answers looking at a tree stump, and I've got people back home that want answers to where their loved ones are. He wants someone up here who's going to arrest Spinney, and Mulder's like, he's not going anywhere. But that's not good enough for Humphreys. He wants someone to come up here, arrest him, and apparently, I guess that's going to solve all his problems. But
I'm kind of surprised that Mulder and Scully let him leave. Like, I know he's holding a shotgun. I know he's, entitled to do whatever he wants. But it's like they have evidence that there's some strange shit going on up here. And even though, you've gone off and demonstrated it's not true, we don't know all the facts. You really shouldn't go anywhere.
Right. He commits to hiking down to the truck and calling for help because he's not satisfied with who the FBI has sent up here. We go back to the cabin, and they're looking at the yellow ring that they took a core sample of, and it looks like a tiny bug. Very unusual.
A lot of tiny bugs.
Yeah. They don't usually feed on dead wood, and these are. They usually are on the outside of the trees where all the nutrients are. Mm-hmm. Between Mulder, Scully, and Larry, they are trying to figure out what they could be and where they came from.
But that's a wonderful moment too, isn't it? That, you've got all these facts of what's happening, and you have no evidence that follows your laws of nature that actually allows you to go, oh, well, it's clearly a mountain lion, which kills everybody, right? It's like, no, right. You've got the webs. There's a person up there. There's no spider that does that. So
yeah,
what is it? We've got these, Spinney's evidence of what he saw. So X plus Y must equal Z, but that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Spinney says that the first deaths did come directly after that tree was cut down. So maybe it does hold some water as to what's going on.
Yep.
From here, we check in on Humphreys. He's hiking back to the car. He gets in, can't find keys or anything, so he's kind of stuck.
That's a little short-sighted, isn't it? It's like,
yeah, we get a short scene of him looking for ways to start the car, and then we get a fade out to the horizon, and it's obvious dusk.
Yeah.
Time is waning for good old Steve Humphreys here.
Yeah,
we fade back, and he's trying to hotwire. Yeah. He's trying to hotwire the car, and it's not working out for him. Not to mention,
it's still
already dark. There's no way. He's like, flat tires. It's dusk. He doesn't stand a chance. He raises the hood to adjust something.
Oh, yeah.
And he hears
radio
a humming.
fixing device.
He hears a humming. He grabs his gun. He looks out to the forest with his tiny, tiny flashlight. and he calls for the monkey wrenchers to come out. He knows what they're up to, but suddenly the bugs attack.
Monkey wrencher.
He runs back to the car, gets in. He can't start it still, and then they start coming in through the air.
The vent.
The vent, yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of the word.
Well, he does get the truck started. He does get to do his one valiant act, but
in a
got
way,
flat tire. It's not going anywhere.
In a way, it's because he started the truck that killed him, right?
Yeah, he lodges himself into a position where he can't open the one door.
Yep.
He couldn't get
And,
out the other
and he
side.
turns the fan on, right? I mean, essentially. That's just kind of what I pieced together. Like, he started the truck, but now they're coming in through the vent.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I guess the conceit here would be, how much light do you need to prevent a bug swarming attack? Like, could you just turn on the cabin lights?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I would imagine you need more than that, because there'd still be quite a lot of shadows
You
with just the
need-
cabin light.
You need one light bulb that works, is what you need. That is
Well, that's a good
precarious.
thing.
That is precariously dangling in a place where it could be swatted when somebody freaks
Yeah.
out. So
Yeah.
I put it to you, sir, that there is enough light in there that they could have. I thought, put yourself out in front of the car and turn on your high beams.
That is a good option.
But clearly, Humphreys is busily being eaten alive, and he can't really come up with that method of saving himself.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a disturbing scene. I mean, I gotta be honest. It's as much as I enjoyed him dying, it's pretty horrific.
Yeah,
Not
we're
a good way to
designed
go.
like him, unfortunately, or he's
No.
not designed for us to like him. I think his crime is he represents the logging company, and there is this obvious crime of the company having cut down an old growth tree, and thus he's complicit in that, and thus he no longer deserves our sympathy, which is
Yeah,
how the writers are able to kill him off.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. I mean, he has proven that he's too stupid to live because he didn't bring car keys down with him. Alas.
yeah. And he wasn't helping anything, really. He's just a stick in the mud.
Well, he's not a believer, thus he must die.
Yes, he must die.
Yeah.
As he screams dying, we fade to commercial. We come back on the generator.
I would love to know what the commercial would have been in 94 following the death scene for like Huggies diapers or something, A cute baby immediately following, and mom is cuddling the baby and tenderly
Begging
putting on a
strips.
diaper immediately after a guy is being eaten alive by insects.
But we come back. We're at the cabin. Scully's still investigating. They're all talking. Spinney's talking about how they don't like the light. And Mulder, once again, is noticing an oily substance on various surfaces.
Mm-hmm. Well, and certainly shout out to the light bulb, because it gets its its introduction at this point. It is
It's
going to feature
one light bulb.
prominently. Yeah.
Mulder starts asking Scully what she knows about insects, and she gives us some general knowledge about how many there are per person on the planet. And but they're talking about ancient insect eggs laying dormant in the tree.
Which means that in this year or season in the life of the tree, there was some kind of strange event that produced an abnormal ring.
Well, like what exactly?
A volcanic eruption.
Yeah, but how does that explain the bugs?
Well, after Mount St. Helens erupted, there was a large amount of radiation that was unleashed from inside the Earth. Strange things started to grow. What if it's some kind of extinct insect larvae in that ring? Deposited during a period of volcanic activity, brought up through the tree's root system. Ancient insect eggs. Thousands, maybe millions of years old, lying dormant
Until those loggers cut down that tree.
It's something I don't think they're quick to shut down. In fact, I think Spinney joins in. He says that's believable. He says it would be the very poetic justice to be killed by something you unleash by cutting down a tree or whatever. But I think it's here that they kind of accept Mulder's theory here. Maybe not verbally, but I think they kind of get on the same page in that they're trying to understand what they're dealing with a little bit better because, again, they're burrowed into the center of the tree. They've never seen anything like this. As they go to bed, Spinney walks off into the darkness of the other room.
Yeah, and I didn't understand that, because isn't Don't they have one light bulb?
I don't know. I was just going to say, it's like, not a good idea.
There's another light bulb.
Especially that the oily substance is everywhere.
Yeah.
So that implies the bugs are everywhere, but whatever.
Well,
We get one last shot of the light bulb as we fade to morning light.
they made it through the night.
It is here that Mulder gets up for the day. He goes outside and he catches Spinney working on the car. He pulls his gun on him and asks what he's doing. Little auto repair. And he says he has to go save his friends. They only had enough gas to keep their generator running for a little bit of time. He has to get back there to help them. And Mulder, I think his initial instinct here is to not trust Spinney. Obviously, he's pulled his gun, but he ends up letting Spinney go. I have a question.
Yeah, do you buy that? Because I'm not sure I do.
I don't buy that.
Yeah.
I really don't. Like, Mulder is not an idiot.
Well, on
No
some
one
things
here
he's
is an idiot, that I would argue.
But
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. But would he actually let one guy who is technically an antagonist to the story take their only method of keeping the light on when we know now that this is the only way they can survive without consulting anyone else on his team? Do you believe that?
Well, my counter to that would be, why don't they all go over to the other valleys?
Exactly.
Why do they?
Exactly.
The crux of the problem is that they're sending an unreliable agent to go out and do this.
At least Mulder could have gone with
Well,
them,
exactly.
you know?
But
But even still, they're taking the last bit of energy, the gasoline, to and away from Scully and Larry at this point. So I think the only option would be that they all decide to go or they don't go at all.
yeah.
That's kind of what it would come down to, in my opinion. But
What I will say that I'm okay with Mulder being fallible in this case. They make a point of it. They don't just let him get away with it. The whole scene is going to follow now about how could you let him do this, basically, and that Mulder admits he screwed up. They could have delved into a bit of why he feels like he screwed up. I'm under stress. It seemed to be the right decision at the time or whatever. Yeah, there are other ways this could have gone. I mean, you can what if an episode to death, but I think in this case, you just have to accept that this is what happened. He made a choice. It wasn't the right call, maybe.
he made a choice.
He is an optimist in a lot of ways, though. So I'm
is.
okay with the idea of him thinking, I believe Spinney believes me on my theory. So we're on the same page. We can trust each other. He will come back because,
That is the only saving grace, I think, for the decision, is that Mulder is a very passionate person. So when it comes to being believed or not antagonistic to the quote unquote bad guy, I can see him believing that, hey, there's an unspoken understanding between us. He's not going to screw me over. Because I'm not the bad guy. We don't have a history of hating each other, and Mulder has been defending him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's still hard to swallow a little bit.
A little bit. It does set up the tension, though.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And it's a good way. Okay. I'm liking it more as we talk about it, but it's still...
In the moment, I had my doubts.
Yeah.
My thought
it's a
was
good way
that
to
they
set up
could have
the
all
final
just gone
chapter.
together. I don't know why they had to make it only he can go. Maybe he could have said, I don't trust you. I don't trust Freddy. Freddy will come and he'll arrest us all and he'll get us all killed. I don't know.
Right.
They rushed it a little bit, and there was some line of dialogue that was missing there that would have made it work. Because I think everybody has a hard time, Scully and Larry included, much less us, the audience, has a hard time believing that Mulder would make this decision. So
They let him have it for a little bit.
Yeah.
But in the end, he relents and says, I messed up. You're right. So Mulder and Scully decide to kind of move on and try to figure out how to get on with themselves. They know they're stuck here for another night at least, so Mulder suggests buttoning up the place. And we get a little montage of them throwing plastic and wood over all the windows and doors, trying to, as he says, keep it airtight.
Yep.
And hopefully protect them for another night.
I think bugs can get through those kind of little tiny cracks.
I think so. I don't think they're gonna. I mean, to be fair, they're trying, but I don't think. I think it's a wasted effort, honestly. Because
I think this is a make work project to get their minds off of it.
Yeah, let's do something so we're not thinking about how we're all about to die.
That said, I love Scully's lines here, basically saying, what you did. They might find us strung up in a tree, or they might not find us at all. It's pretty powerful. And spot on.
It's powerful and haunting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Mulder has to live with that decision he's made.
Yep.
But it's left on the table. They don't spend too much time on the argument.
I remember talking about this episode with somebody else way back, and or maybe it was when a certain other podcast reviewed this episode. I can't remember where. But anyway, I remember the discussion being they have not thought of fire in this case.
Yes, that is another thing. I don't know.
They're surrounded by a forest full of timber. They couldn't burn
wood
some campfires
everywhere
around them.
But see if they cut it down, then they're going. Spinney's going to give them some static.
Yeah.
We can't cut anything down right now.
I feel like there's a plentiful supply
it is a good point
of firewood at their fingertips that they could use to make a fancifully big trophy fire. Light up that darkness.
Yeah.
That, I think, is the blind spot.
It's unfortunate when you think about that. Yep.
All right, so just imagine there's a reason why they can't do that. The forest is wet.
The forest is, the trees are all
Everything's wet. You can't make a fire out there.
We fade to night, and they have that one light bulb working, and they're all just kind of absorbing the night. It's all silent. Scully's laying on a bed, and they're not saying much of anything. She notices in the corner a swarm of bugs where it's completely dark. She can see the bugs in the cabin. They bring everyone to look. She then, as one of the onlookers, Mulder or Larry, get near her, the shadow of them gets all over her hand, and she sees bugs everywhere. She starts freaking out. She realizes the bugs are on her, and she accidentally hits the light bulb.
And it smashes and they die.
And it smashes and they die. Mulder here says that the oily substance that they've all been feeling is the bugs, but the light keeps them from swarming.
Yeah.
So we get that tidbit of information that the bugs are indeed everywhere.
You know what it reminds me of? Okay, so The Walking Dead, that zombie franchise, the big reveal in that, and I'm sorry if I will spoil this for people.
Oh, no.
So if you don't want to know, just plug your ears for the next 2 minutes. The big reveal for that is in traditional zombie fare, if you're bitten by the zombie, you become a zombie when you die, or you will die and then come back as a zombie. In The Walking Dead, the reveal is that everybody has the virus, which will turn you into a zombie when you die. It's not a matter of being bitten. It's going to happen. It's inevitable.
Period.
So there is a parallel here in that there has been this thought that the bugs are outside and that the bugs are being kept at bay by the light. But then the big reveal is, no, they are everywhere. They have been everywhere for the whole time. The oil that we've been seeing, that's bugs. And the light just keeps them from killing you. I think that is a nice reveal here. It is probably the highlight of the episode for me.
It's one of the more tense moments because imagine being in that situation where you think they're separate from you in some way, but in essence, they're everywhere and they're all over you right now. That's got to be disturbing.
Well, I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but apparently there are a zillions of bacteria and, little tiny bugs on us anyway that we live with every day and we don't note it.
Dear God.
Yeah, I know. You want to have a really good shower. That's really what it comes down to.
I'm going to go take a shower,
I'm going to take a shower right now.
So we come back from commercial. The camera zooms in on the generator with very low fuel. Mulder and Scully are talking about how they have to make it through the night. Mulder's very hopeful. He did send out a radio transmission, and hopefully someone heard it.
I'm sure that will happen. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, because, the X-Files was really only supposed to be one season.
Yeah.
But they decided while they were filming this to make him live.
It's a real tense scene, though, eh? This moment where they're, it's the hour of the wolf, basically, right? Like they're deep in the darkness. You don't know whether this gas is going to make it to the end of the night. The light is dipping. Really tantalizing, right?
Yeah, the generator starts sputtering and the light's dimming. It's pretty tense.
And poor Larry is on the other side of the room. He doesn't have a buddy to confide in. He's got nobody's hand to hold.
Just as the light goes out, the sun is peeking over the horizon. And this is our tense moment of, we got to get the hell out of here. Mm-hmm. They have no options left. So first thing in the morning.
Well, what I was going to say, I like that it's the callback to the intro, basically, where we have the loggers making the same decision. Do they stay? Do they run? Yep. The thing I'm missing now in the intro is why they're out in the middle of the woods having this conversation. Shouldn't they have been in the camp, finishing their meal, and then the sun comes up and, that's when they decide to run for it? I don't know why they're outside.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Guys, outside, team meeting. We got something real important to talk about.
Team meeting. We have to go outside where the danger is.
We have to go outside because we haven't got to the location yet. We need to shoot this scene right here.
First thing in the morning, they're out of options. They have to at least try to escape. Mulder, Scully, and Larry, they all make a run for it. They decide to take a tire from the truck that is at the campsite and roll it along with them so they can hopefully fix the car that they lost on the way up here. As they head down the trail, they eventually come across Humphrey's body inside the Jeep. Ugh. It's kind of a gruesome scene.
Yeah, it's classic X-Files. And this is some good prop work because...
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the actor just sitting there.
I'm pretty sure it is. But... there's no cast dummy that they've used to make a new Humphreys. I think this is him just holding his breath and actually doing a good job.
He's just holding. He did do a good job.
Yeah.
As they investigate the body, quickly, cursory, they hear an engine, and here comes Spinney roaring down the pathway. He stops, he picks them up, and they book it. Oh, but they don't get super far.
Yeah, it's a nice moment.
Go figure. As they're heading down the mountain, sure enough, they hit another caltrop, and they are immobilized once again.
Yeah. Well,
but they've been in the Jeep for a while. It's dusk when this happens.
They made a couple hours journey, enough to maybe got far enough. But I like what Larry says about the caltrop. He's like, talk about shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, talk about. Good Lord.
Yeah, hoist.
I knew I hated you.
Hard. But yeah, they
Spinney gets out to check the damage, and sure enough, he gets assaulted by the bugs.
Yeah.
Well, hey, actually, here's your question.
He's right in the high beams. Yep.
He's right in the high beams. It's not good enough. So, well, Andrew.
You know what? It has to be a 40-watt incandescent bulb. That's the only defense against the bugs. These halogen lights.
It has to be a single bulb from above you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit inconsistent, but that's okay.
Yeah. As they watch Spinney get carried off, sure enough, the bugs come through the vents as they did with Humphreys. They all, one by one, start freaking out. We see static all over the screen. Green static. Mm-hmm. And we fade out
to green, which is an uncommon choice.
Yeah.
It's interesting ending. Eh? They're all dead. And surprisingly, the show continues.
Yeah, they actually brought in a completely new cast for the rest of the show. 9 more seasons. Yeah. That's the crux of the show. They kill the cast off at the end of each season.
That would be actually kind of cool, but a little bit trend-setting for the time. Yeah, after the fade, they're not going out like that.
No. We get our hazmat team together. They arrive in vans, and we get a bunch of people in white suits here. They open the doors to the Jeep, and they see webbing everywhere. And it looks like 3 bodies. They say 2, possibly 3 victims. I'm like, how do you not see.
Can you not count?
How many people are there?
Yeah.
But we see Scully moving in the back, and we cut to a high containment facility in Washington. Our heroes have been saved. They are going through recovery. Mulder looks beaten up, as if the bugs were already eating at him. He's got red marks all over his body, and he's the first to kind of wake up and be told the story. He's walking around with a little white hat. He's looking very weak. He's watching Scully on the bed. She's not doing as well as he is.
It's a tough job.
She's not out of the woods.
It's a tough job being an FBI agent because, like, I think about this in .com. Like, they must have really good health insurance.
Well, I would imagine. Well, as Skinner says in the episode where Scully officially has cancer, he says, we have access to the best medical facilities in the country.
That's true. Well, they're going to live to fight another day.
Yeah. Mulder talks to one of the scientists,
Yeah.
They are working on pesticides and controlled burns to take care of this situation, and they're fairly confident they will be successful. Mulder asks, what if they're not? And ominously, he says, that is not an option, Mr. Mulder.
Yeah, the plot demands that we're done. This episode ends here. There will not be a sequel.
So that's the episode.
That is.
I think that was a good time.
Yeah, there's a lot to like in this one. I mean, again, the haunted house episodes are really good. There's just a couple of little things in there that take me out of it. Mostly the not being able to burn a fire. Like it's a real obvious one.
Yeah, that's a tough one to swallow when you think about it. I wish they had at least said something like fires don't work for some reason.
Yeah,
some plot reason.
Teague was out there burning a fire, and they got him anyway. It needs to be a 40-watt bulb hanging from the ceiling.
It needs to be.
That's the only way it works.
I don't want to say that thought ruins the episode, but it kind of does.
Well, it kind of does. So if you don't imagine that, then it's fine.
Right.
Again, these episodes are all about like just being presented with this is what happened. And successful show, you don't ever deviate off that path, right? You're not given a moment to think about, what if they did it this way? And I think that is obviously, a show like ours where we are reviewing it and given time to really tease out the threads. We do find sometimes these moments where, maybe this was an obvious thing they should have covered. Could have said it's just too wet to light a fire. I mean, God, they shot in 6 days of rainy wilderness. Like, I don't think it would be too hard.
I mean, maybe they were counting on by accident, I guess maybe they were counting on the fact that the cast is drenched in every scene to maybe play a role in why they're not starting a fire. But I don't know that Chris Carter was actually thinking that when he wrote the episode.
Yeah, he obviously needed he needed a way to the light bulb. I mean, come on, here I am saying they could have lit in a fire, but I do love the light bulb business. It is so classic suspense. It really works out very well.
And that's why we love the episode, is because they do everything so well. It's just, if you think about it too hard, it's like there is a big question on the table.
Yeah. I mean, the best episodes were the ones that defy that. And there are a handful that do. They do answer the audience questions as they're having them, because it's like, if we don't address this, they're going to sit here and go, well, wait a second. But what I want to ask you is what you think of I guess we're kind of in final thoughts territory here, so maybe this is all part of our
we don't need to.
But what do you think of the Deus Ex Machina arrival of the hazmat team? They heard the radio transmission, they showed up to save the day. What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, of course they did, but at the same time, it's acceptable because in the end, our heroes didn't make it. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah,
they very much could have died, and this one was very uncertain, and I liked that uncertainty because even though in our souls we know that our heroes are not going to be killed off, the episode is still written like what's the ending going to be?
Yeah, shit. Because they faded to green.
They just ran over a caltrop. Yeah. They made it look like, the bugs are winning. And then, thank God Mulder's radio communication got out to someone. It is a little tropey, like I said, but I accept it here.
Well, what it says to me is that there is somebody listening, for their on their progress. Yeah. So, I mean, you could read in a whole other backstory that they knew the bugs were out here and they sent them up to sort of gather some data as to what would happen to them, and because the hazmat response.
Oh, so you're looking at it.
Yeah, a little bit more black hat kind of thing. I mean, maybe if you're going to do that, you need to have more of it to give it some weight and make you believe, you have Mulder saying at the beginning, yeah, we were given this case, surprisingly easily or something, or have a scene with Blevins saying, we're going to send you up north, and a cigarette smoking man looking ominously over his shoulder. I don't know, but
maybe it was an attempt to get rid of Mulder and Scully.
Maybe it was.
Because they knew what happened, and they're like, well, this is our chance.
Shouldn't have sent that hazmat team then.
Shouldn't have sent the hazmat
Shouldn't have sent the rescue team if you wanted to get rid of them.
Well, but see, the problem is that Jones took down the message, and he officially sent it to someone above him, so it was on record that they got it.
Yeah.
So they couldn't.
And they sent out the wrong team, and wires got crossed. Yep. Foiled again, cigarette smoking man.
So close.
Do you want to hear our one listener comment on this one?
Yes, go ahead.
So Emily Messenger said, oh man, Darkness Falls is the perfect X-File. It has all the things. Creepy crawlies, the perfect Vancouver climate, awesome guest characters who will go on to become a very famous MSR, sorry, I'm a shipper, a hospital scene, and the destruction of the evidence by the government before Mulder and Scully can get back to gather it. This episode is a top 10 for me, maybe even a top 5. What do you think? Is that top 5 for you?
It is a great episode. Top 5? That's a tall order. I don't know. I don't know that it makes top 5. I would say it's a highlight. I can't think season 1 and not think of this episode. So that's a positive.
Yeah, if we were to put it into seasons, I'd say this is right up there and one of the best episodes. But maybe my top 20, maybe.
It's so hard to even think of what that list would be right now. But I agree completely. It's such a good episode.
Yeah. Mulder Scully romance.
I don't agree. I don't agree with that.
I think what she's talking about
I know people have said that.
I think it's the moment where they're in the cabin talking about, when the light bulb is fading and they're sharing a moment on a bed, shoulders are touching, lips are slightly parted, they're panting. Oh, wait. No, I'm thinking of it.
I don't remember the scene at all. No, I'll accept it. I know people have said this is a nice episode for shippers.
Sure. I mean, it's not as
I texted you, I said, I think Tombs would be better because they have that moment in the car that's actually they're joking about it or something, but whatever.
Yeah, well.
Well, that is the show, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you listening. And Andrew, would you like to say goodbye to the good people?
Don't let the darkness hit your ass on the way out.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at TINHXFilesPod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming. It's that time, everyone, the Magus Media Production sales pitch. Please check out our homepage at magusmediaproductions.net so you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/magusmediaproductions, both of which have our Discord link on it, where you can join us for live shows as we record them for future release. At Magus Media Prods on X, our Patreon, patreon.com/magusmedia, where a $5 donation will help us keep the lights on and bringing you new content, and you get some stickers. Thank you for your consideration and support.